What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. Time for Upset Alert Week 11. Going back to last week, 3 of the 8 games that we had on the video did turn out to be upsets. So Florida, Arkansas, that was an upset. And we also saw Oklahoma State upset Oklahoma and NC State upset Miami. Close call with Texas, Kansas State as well. So some upsets last week. This week, this was actually, if you look at this a few weeks ago, if you looked at this week, this looked like it was going to be one of the best weekends of college football, maybe of all time. And now some of the games, they don't mean quite as much as we thought they were going to back earlier in the season. But still, it's a really, really big weekend. But I don't know that we're going to see a ton of upsets, at least a ton of big upsets. I'm sure there will be some upsets mixed in, but I think we'll get back to our normal average here. We'll probably see 2 of these 8 games turn out to be upsets. And again, if you are new here, we're talking about games where the spread is 4 points or more, and we're going to look at those games from the least likely to most likely to actually be upsets. That's what we're doing here. And we'll start with Alabama, Kentucky. So this is a really interesting game here. It's at noon Eastern time on ESPN. Alabama favored by 10.5. Crimson Tide, I think, clearly the better team. But there are some elements here you can look at. And one of the things that really jumped out to me was that spread, 10.5 points. I really thought that would have been at least 2 touchdowns. So that was interesting. But you're talking about an Alabama team that just came off of a huge win over LSU. Feeling like this is a team that maybe can get to the college football playoff. Everything's going great for them. And you've got a road game. And it's a noon kickoff, and there's a recipe here for a slow start, I would say, at least for Alabama. Kentucky's just kind of been under the radar. They've had their ups and downs this year, and this is just a game that I don't think people are really talking about. So I think if it's an upset, it's because Alabama overlooks Kentucky. They aren't focused for this game. They play poorly. I don't think if they play their, if they play their B game, they should win, I think, by at least 10 points. But if they don't play well, Kentucky's a good enough team playing at home, noon kick again. Watch out for this one. This one could potentially be pretty close. We got Miami, Florida State, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. Florida State's favored by 14.5 points in this game. That's a pretty big number, I guess, for a rivalry. When you look at this matchup, Florida State's been a much better team all year. They've been a much more consistent team all year. But Miami still has a really talented roster. Miami has, I think they have, talent-wise, a roster that can match up with Florida State's. Florida State's a much better team, and they've played much better all year, obviously. But talent-wise, Miami can absolutely play with Florida State. And again, it's a rivalry game. Florida State hasn't been tested in a long time. They haven't played, I think, their last 4 or 5 games are really against pretty bad teams. So I think there are some elements here where maybe this one's close. If Miami plays the way they played at times this year, it's probably not going to be close. But if they play the way I think they're capable of, I think they have a shot in this game. We'll see. Big spread, though. I'm very surprised that this spread is bigger than the Alabama-Kentucky spread. That just really, something seems off there. I don't know. All right, let's go now to Ole Miss, Georgia, 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Georgia favored by 10.5 points in this game. That is a pretty big number when you're talking about a top 10 matchup, but it makes sense. Georgia's been that team now for quite some time. Ole Miss hasn't really won any, under Lane Kiffin, they really haven't won any huge games. They've won some fairly big games. Beating LSU this year was a big win for them, but I don't know if they're going to be able to go on the road and knock off Georgia, but they've got the type of offense that can definitely give this Georgia defense some problems. They can run it, they can throw it, the quarterback can run it. Their defense is better. They get after the quarterback. I think they've got a team that can match up pretty well with Georgia, and I think they've got a shot in this game. And I think you at least have to put the Bulldogs on upset alert. Next, we got West Virginia, Oklahoma. This one's at 7 o'clock Eastern time on Fox. Oklahoma favored by 12.5 points, but it just kind of reminds me of last year. Oklahoma, once they started losing games, it's like they couldn't stop losing games. It was like it was contagious or something. I don't know. They just kept losing over and over and over. It was just a terrible season for them last year, and they started off so great this year, but now 2 losses in a row. Where are they at mentally? I don't know. West Virginia is a quality team. They're not, they're not ranked or anything, but they're a solid team, and you just wonder, again, where is the mentality of this Oklahoma team? Is the season over for them? Are they giving up? How will they come out? They're the better team. There's no doubt about it. They're playing at home. They should not lose this game. but stranger things have happened. And again, West Virginia is a good enough team. They could come in there and possibly pull off the upset if Oklahoma is not focused and ready to go. Next, we've got Utah, Washington, 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. Washington favored by 9.5. This is an interesting matchup here. You wonder, a lot of times this Utah team, the physicality that they play with, it's kind of won the day against some of these finesse teams. And Washington is more of a finesse team. We saw Utah beat USC, and we saw, of course, last year what they did to USC. So that's an interesting thing going on here. And I think Utah is a team that's really being overlooked. It was absolutely ridiculous that they stayed at 18 in the rankings this week after they just beat a Power 5 team by 52 points. Tennessee beat, I think I may have mentioned this the other day, Tennessee beat UConn, moved up 4 spots. Utah beat Arizona State by 52 points, and they didn't move. So that made absolutely no sense. This team absolutely should feel disrespected coming in here. If they come out swinging, the offense has been better for them. I think they have a shot. If this was at home for Utah, I'd pick them. I would pick them to pull off this upset. Playing on the road, though, I think it's going to be tough. We'll see, but I think they at least have a chance to beat Washington. Next, we got Georgia Tech, Clemson, noon Eastern Time on ABC. Clemson favored by 14. Who would have guessed back at the beginning of the season that Georgia Tech and Clemson would both be 5-4 at this point? Georgia Tech's been a little better than people expected. Clemson's been worse than most people expected. It's a team that's got some confidence, though, after beating Notre Dame last week, but they've been so inconsistent this year that I don't think this is an easy win for them. And that spread, again, 14 points. That's a big number. And again, it makes no sense that the spread for this game would be bigger than Alabama-Kentucky. I'm still trying to figure out why that spread is so low. But yeah, Georgia Tech's a good team. They absolutely could pull off the upset here. They've won some big games already this season. And then we've got Michigan, Penn State. This one's at noon Eastern Time on Fox. Big noon kickoff. Michigan favored by 4.5 points on the road. Penn State, will they let it loose? Will they play a little bit more aggressive on offense? I think that's going to be the key for them. If they're going to win, they're going to have to throw the ball. Drew Aller's going to have to make some plays. But it's a game where a lot of people are picking Penn State. They're playing at home. They're a good team. Michigan has not been tested all year. Still kind of don't know what's going on with Michigan and just how good they are. We know they're good. We don't know how good. And then you got all the off-the-field distractions as well for Michigan. So a lot of things going here for a potential upset. Watch out for Penn State to maybe get it done. And then finally, we've got Duke, North Carolina. Another head-scratcher with that spread. This one's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on the ACC Network. North Carolina's favored by 14.5. I mean, it's like everyone just forgot. This is a pretty good Duke team. They've proven that all year. They've played really well all year. And 3 losses, but still, they played a tough schedule, and this is a good Duke team. No Riley Leonard, I get that, but they've still got a really good defense, and they've played without him now a little bit, so I just don't understand the spread. North Carolina's lost to some really bad teams. I'm expecting a very close game here, and absolutely, I think there's a good chance that Duke pulls off the upset over North Carolina. So those are my picks this week. Again, normally 2 of the 8 games turn out to be upsets. Which 2 will it be? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And maybe there's an upset out there that you think is going to happen I didn't mention. Let me know about that as well.